What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Legion of Impact. My name is Anthony, and I am the host of this podcast. And, guys, along with me today, I have my brother. He's the co-host of this podcast, if you didn't know that already. And again, since the last episode, what was it, 14, was such a hit, there's like almost 6,000 listens, I think, on that. So we're going to go ahead and do a thoughts on winning part 2. And we're going to hear Avery's thoughts on winning and jump around and kind of bounce off each other. So actually, no, I'm sorry, almost 5,000. So 49.75 on episode 14, which is insane. That's crazy.
It's only going to go up.
Yeah, considering a lot of people who have podcasts don't even get that, and they've been doing it for 2 years, 3 years. So,
well, with me hopping back on, I think it's gonna skyrocket too. So.
Yeah. Okay. So on the last episode, Avery, you listened to a little bit of it, but I was talking about our brother's football team.
Yeah.
And how, and it was that first game, and how slow they were, and how seemingly unimportant winning was to really anybody.
Yeah.
And so and how that kind of struck a nerve with me and kind of pissed me off. But then going into the second game, I was there for that, and it seemed different. It seemed like, I don't know if coach maybe instilled a little bit more of that winning kind of culture into them during the week of practice, or I don't know what it was. Maybe they didn't like that feeling of losing.
Yeah.
So they played a little bit faster. They still lost and stuff, but again, going back to the parents and everybody's thoughts on the kids, and just the mentality of the parents, the coaches, the kids in that first game, just kind of seemingly not caring about winning.
Yeah.
You know
what though?
What are your thoughts about all of that?
Yeah, so not caring about winning isn't really what even struck me about all of it. What struck me about it is how uninvolved the parents were.
That too.
Not that you need to know football or know the sport yourself in order to cheer it on or pay attention or whatever, right? But you're not there at your kid's game for a fucking social powwow.
Right.
Like, sure, you might see your friend whose son is also on the team or whatever and say hi, but you're not there to bullshit with your friends and, talk about work and talk about your fucking Halloween party that you're going to be having. And you're there to watch your kids and you're there to support your kids and breed a culture that is going to be fun for them.
Yeah.
Right. And part of that is winning, because winning is more fun than fun is fun. And so you and I, we can go out and we can go hunt, right? We're not hunters, but imagine that we are. We can go out and hunt, and the art of hunting, going out there and being in nature and looking for a deer and whatever, staying out there all day is fun, right? But if you never shoot a deer and you never have a trophy to bring home, that's not going to be fun anymore. You're going to get bored pretty quick, and you're going to start to think that you suck at hunting.
Yep.
And the same is true for any sport. Like, yeah, it's fun to play a sport. You're throwing around a football, right? But the more you lose, the worse you feel you are at that sport. Conversely, the more you win, the better you feel about it. The more fun you have, the more you actually want to do it.
But
right?
Just to clarify, not just that sport though. Not just that sport. It ends up being instilled in it ends up being instilled in the mentality of everyday life. And you start to identify as a loser.
But the fact of the matter is that the first issue is you have uninvolved parents who aren't
Yep.
paying attention to the game. So they don't even know that their kid just made a tackle.
Yep.
They don't even know that their kid just scored a touchdown or, got fucking clocked behind the line of scrimmage, Like, they don't even know. They don't know what's going on. They don't even know what fucking number their kid is.
Right.
Seriously, they don't know what number their kid is on the football team. And so you have uninvolved parents who are not breeding a culture of winning because they just want you to go have fun, but they don't understand that when you lose, it's not very fun. When you get your ass kicked all the time, it's not very fun.
But that's the thing, is you can't tell me none of those you can't tell me that any of those kids want to go out there and not win.
No, they don't.
Every single fucking one of them wants to go out there and win.
And yeah, and so, to your point on the last podcast of they took a picture, the team took a picture afterwards and, acted like it was some victory. I don't believe that they should be demoralized or not. I don't know. I don't think that they should be ridiculed or whatever, because they're 14 years old. But also, I don't think you should be celebrating and rewarded after the game when you just got your ass handed to you.
Right.
Because you're going to start rewarding lack of effort. You're going to start rewarding it's the whole participation trophy thing.
Yeah.
At some point in life, that's not going to be good enough anymore. When you go out and you get a job and you're not the most qualified, you're not going to get the job just because you're there and you had a decent interview. Like, you're not the most qualified, right? So why are you going to go and celebrate the fact you didn't get a fucking job? Now you can't put food on the table. You know what I mean? So, like, I understand they're 14 years old, but also this is where it starts. That culture, like, getting kids into sports is not about getting good at the sport itself. It's about the culture around it. And part of that is winning. It's the mentality of going out there, giving all you've got, the camaraderie of being on a team, and putting everything into the game for an outcome, whatever that outcome is.
Right.
And that's not what's being instilled in these football players. The other team, though, they were yelling at the kids, like they were like, the coaches were involved. It seemed like the parents were involved. They were actually like, and the one thing that I saw, and this is what I told Hayden after the game, I said, you need to be more of that leader, because the other team, they were picking up their quarterback when they got sacked. They were picking up their running back when they got tackled, or their wide receiver. They were picking up their, the people off the ground. They were patting them on the back. They were jumping up and down when they were excited.
Yeah.
You guys didn't do shit. Right. I saw one player on that team pick up the other players and pat them on the back and say, let's go, and actually get excited. But nobody else did, but the other team did.
Right.
Right. So that in itself is a culture. And that's just part of leadership. And at that young of an age, getting involved in sports, that's where you're instilling that leadership. Yeah. Right. I think that there are born leaders, people that are just born to go out and lead the way. And like, some people have the natural instinct to do that. But it can always be refined. And growing up through sports, that's where it gets refined. Right. Along with school projects and other things like that. But sports is a huge one. And yeah, I wasn't disappointed that they lost. I was just disappointed on, number one, the parents, and number two, the lack of emphasis on really just the culture. Yep. The culture. Like, they weren't trying to set a positive atmosphere within the team, picking each other up, getting excited, having that energy about them. And the one thing, like, I've learned in business is that you need to have, Ryan Serhant calls it big money energy. Yeah. And you need to have that energy if you're gonna last. Yeah. And it's not like, okay, I'm never tired, but no, it's like, hey, I got shit to do. This is fucking important to me, and I'm gonna bust my ass until the job's done. And they didn't have that, and the coaches weren't pushing that into them, and the
Right.
parents weren't even paying attention. So how could they be pushing it into them?
Yep.
So that's kind of my initial thoughts on it. Is just I thought it really goes to show kind of where the country is heading right now, and it starts
I do.
at that
Yeah.
parenting level and that coaching level.
Yeah. I definitely do think it's indicative of society today. And I mean, we see it all over the place, not just youth football, not just sports, but it definitely does seem like people are okay with being mediocre, and kind of just not wanting to improve themselves at all.
Right.
And yeah, like we use the example of youth sports, but it could be in anything.
Yep.
It could be in a small business where somebody's saying, yeah, I'm okay with, the business making me say $60K a year or whatever, when maybe they should be thinking bigger than that. If that's your only goal, like, sure, that's cool. But, there is, I guess, nobility in thinking bigger than that.
Yeah.
And having bigger aspirations and bigger goals, if not for you, then for somebody else around you.
Yep.
Because that type of energy does get passed along.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a personal trainer, and she's a fucking stud. And she works for a friend of ours. And man, I was like, hey, how's business going? How's training going? And they have very few clients right now, and the clients aren't who she loves working with. It's not her target market, but gets experience under her belt, and she's getting paid and whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so my question to her was like, okay, what if you ran a campaign around your target market, right? She wants to work with athletes and whatnot. Okay, what if you ran a campaign around your target market? What if you got athletes into the gym?
Yep.
Well, I'm not the one that I'm not
Is
the one
responsible for doing
that's
that.
responsible for
Yeah.
that. I don't own the business. Okay, but if you did own the business, that's something you would be doing, right? So like, yeah. Okay, so what if you had a conversation with the owner, who once again is a friend of ours? We know him very well, and he's a great guy, very receptive to every single opportunity you put in front of him.
Yeah, for sure.
And what if you brought that to him? Do you think he would say yes or no? Right? Do you think he would be for it or against it? And so it's like, at some point in time, whether you're an employee or you work for yourself, you have to capitalize on opportunities in front of you, but you need to want to win, whether it's for you, whether it's for somebody else, whether it's to help grow the company, because there's so much. And like in her case, I was telling her, there's so much opportunity at small companies.
Yeah.
When you're growing and you know that the owner has a huge vision, right? Massive vision, and they want to grow this thing huge. That they are gonna be for you helping them grow. And so if you can become a part of that early on in the business, you're gonna grow up, you're gonna be one of the executives that makes that shit happen, and you'll probably be getting paid for it. Because what's that saying there? You do more than you're paid now, so that later you get paid more than you do, right?
Yeah.
And you're helping the company grow. Why wouldn't you take initiative and actually help bring that clientele into the gym?
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like it's common sense, but there's not a lot of people wired that way.
It's because, I mean, you can see it in all sorts of different professions, but nobody wants to do those things to help the company grow, because it's not their job, right? It's not
their company.
It's not my job to do this. It's not I don't get paid. That's above my pay scale. That's something we heard a lot in the Marine Corps, was it's above my rank, or it's above my pay grade, right? and it's still a common thing in society of it's not or it's above my pay grade. So that being said, like, you're not going to do it just because you don't get paid for that. And when that's the case, then you're clearly missing out on opportunities to. I mean, there's bosses out there. There's some employers that will put those opportunities in front of you just to see if you're going to take them.
Yep.
Just to see, it's like setting you up, right? So if there's a company who's looking to make a new hire or to promote somebody, they might set up a situation like that where they're putting you on the spot to see if you're going to step up. If you don't step up, then they'll hire somebody else, right? They'll look outside the company. But if you do step up, then you're going to be the one that they want to hire for that position.
There was a story, we've talked about it before. There's a story where a CEO at a company placed a piece of trash in the hallway, and he had interviewees, right, that were coming in and interviewing for a job, and or maybe it was like for a promotion or something. But in any case, the employee walked past the trash, and a couple of them walked past the trash. Finally, one of them went and picked up the trash, and that person got a promotion. The person who picked up the trash and threw it in the trash. But that's taking the initiative. That's going above and beyond what your pay grade is or your job description, right? And look, you and I are realtors. We sell houses, we market homes. That's all that's our job description, right? There's some paperwork involved and whatnot, but that's about it. We show homes. But last week we were out freaking landscaping one of our clients' backyards. Today, this morning, we're over cleaning shit out of a fucking trailer that's going to sell for 25 grand, right? At some point, you have to take the initiative and actually do what it takes to get the fucking job done. Because otherwise, there's no growth in what you're doing. There's zero growth.
And who else is going to do it too?
Right.
I mean, if not you, then who? And, it's just, might as well be you. At least, like, you'll get something out of it. And if it's not like a paycheck or whatever, like, I don't know, I believe that the universe is going to pay you back somehow.
Well, and right now,
it's karmic debt, like...
Yeah, and right now, I believe that the world is going back to the customer experience. Especially after COVID, people have been sitting on their phones and their computers for so fucking long, dealing with Amazon and dealing with, these food ordering apps and, all this shit, right? People are craving a customer experience. So they were wanting to go out to the bar and actually like deal with a bartender and actually order a fucking drink and go to a restaurant and hang out with their friends and get off their devices and whatnot. And so like people aren't doing business with computers anymore.
Right.
So if you can capitalize on the opportunity to go and actually deliver a customer experience, then you will fucking win.
Yep.
And so many people are burying their heads into their phones every single night or their computers. And they're relying on that to make them money. They're relying on that to show them the way. When in reality, all you got to do is get the fuck out there and start talking to people, develop relationships, do a damn good job for your customers or your employer, and you'll be rewarded for it.
Right.
And I don't feel like our generation, right, the new parents, or even our parents' age, I don't feel like they're doing a good enough job instilling that into kids because kids are going to be developed on these devices.
Yeah.
Right. And they're
no
going to
social skills or
no
anything
social
like that.
skills. They're going to they expect everything to be given to them right away.
Yep.
With no work. I mean, we see it we see it in our family,
Yeah.
right? No work, they just want everything.
And what's one of the greatest predictors of success is delayed gratification, right? How
Yep.
long can you go doing the work without seeing any results, right? How long can you go, and then, ultimately, or without giving up? So how long can you go without giving up, without seeing any results, and still
Yep.
not give up? One day the results will come, right? But how long can you delay that gratification? That's
Yeah.
one of the greatest predictors of success.
And that's like with, tying it back to the football team. Yeah, they might not win every single game, right? They're 14, 15-year-olds.
It's not to be expected. Nobody
Yeah,
does.
they probably won't win every single game. But if you can delay that gratification of taking that fucking selfie and celebrating and actually getting your ass back to work, right? Like, what if the coaches said, hey, no celebrating for us today. We're going back and we're going to do some conditioning because you guys look like ass out there and you didn't play with energy. So maybe we need to work on your energy, or maybe we need to work on your tackling. So we're going to do some form drills, right? Yeah. What if they were able to delay that selfie until they actually won a fucking game?
Yeah.
Right? How much better would that feel? Instead of going and getting a fucking pizza,
Yeah.
right? Because you lost, why not get a pizza when you win?
Yep.
Right? Like, why don't you go win? Or say, hey, we're not throwing any parties until we actually win it all.
Right.
Right? We're not celebrating at all until we win it all. Right?
I mean, honestly, like, why do you deserve it? Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, part of me says, like, okay, if you honestly went out there and, like, say you were just outclassed, right? Like, you played a fucking good game, and you were just outclassed. The other team was just better, like, because sometimes that happens. It's there are times and places for celebrating after a loss, but it's not your first game where you sucked ass and you didn't even show up.
Yeah, caught with your pants down. Yeah.
Yeah, at least show up, put in 100% effort or 110% effort, and give it your all. And if you still lost, then sure, whatever, take the selfie or whatever. But it's also seeming like, and again, these are freshman kids, so this is like not hypothetical, but just kind of minute, but
take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and it also just seems like the time was too big for them. The event was too big for them, and in my opinion, I don't think anything should be too big for you.
Yeah.
Because that comes in preparation.
Yep.
That comes in practicing and getting prepared for.
Well,
because what did we say is what is like the 5 P's?
Piss poor preparation, or piss. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, it's like preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah,
something like that, right? So it's, if you prepared for that game, if you practiced with intent for that game, then, and look, like, going back to high school, we hated practice. Everyone fucking hates practice. It's not fun. Like, you just want to play, right? But if you can wrap your head around the fact that, like, going through the reps is what builds the muscle. Like, it's, that's what does that. Going through the practices is what creates those W's.
Yeah.
And it's important for kids now to understand that, because that practice, they're going to lose in practice.
Yeah.
But then in game time, they're going to win because they put in those L's already.
Yeah. And, I keep going back to the parents, though, because, that's something that I take extremely seriously, is kids are developed from their household, right? And the people that surround them and the culture that bred them. And I'm a big believer that if a kid is not performing or doesn't care to perform, something is going on in their household or in that environment, right? And so sometimes those kids aren't aren't destined to be playing football, and maybe their parents just ask them to try for a year, right? But also seeing those parents just dicking around in the bleachers and not watch. Like I saw one set of parents actually paying attention, and it was the running back's parents, and he was the best one on the team, and he was putting in his effort. He was the one supporting his teammates. He was the one actually going out there wanting and trying to win.
Right.
And his parents were paying attention. And you know what? I bet you
not
anything.
A coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. And I bet you anything in their household, they have their shit together. I bet you they have their finances together. I bet you that they eat well, right? I bet you that they instill values in their kids.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think that's a coincidence.
Right.
Not to say that the other parents are bad parents by any means. I'm just saying that I think it's a direct correlation that the one kid busting his ass on the field, his parents were paying attention.
Yeah.
Right? I think I don't know. I really think it comes back to the parents, and I think that the culture on that football team starts with the parents, not even the coaches. Yeah. I think it starts with the parents. And yeah. That's
so and then what are your thoughts about, because I mentioned it in the podcast last episode that a lot of the kids, a lot of them may have been offered to get pulled up to JV, but them and their parents didn't want to. And I remember when we were faced with that decision, we instantly jumped on the fact of going up to JV.
I don't even know that it was a decision. I think we just did it. It was like,
well, right. That's like what I'm saying. But
pulled us up. Okay, yeah, if you say so.
But there were other players though who were on freshmen, and so there was a choice at some point to play on freshmen. But we didn't know it. But
we didn't take it as a choice. I don't think.
No, I mean, you're right. It was never really for us. It was never really even a question. I think everybody who would have given us that option, I think basically knew that we would do it anyway. So it wasn't even asked of us. It was just, hey, you're going to play on JV.
Right.
Right. And it's crazy to me that kids and their parents just don't want to even try. Out of fear of sitting on the bench or out of fear of whatever. But it's like, what if you don't sit on the bench? What if you actually thrive? What if you're the next man up for the dude who gets hurt?
Right. I mean, what if Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, better yet, what if Aaron Rodgers said, you know what? I'm not gonna sit on the bench. I'm not gonna get pulled up into the bigs or go with the Packers because Brett Favre is the quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if Aaron Rodgers had said that and he didn't actually go into the NFL or sign with the Packers because Brett Favre was the quarterback and he didn't want to be a backup, right? Then where would he? No one knows where he would be today. He wouldn't be the 4-time MVP, right? Like he wouldn't be the Aaron Rodgers that we all know, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all fucking time.
Yeah.
Right? So like, what if he said, "No, I don't want to fail, and I don't want to be a backup, and I don't want to sit the bench." Right? He wouldn't be nearly what he is today. And what I'm getting at is like those kids, they're fearing that failure.
Yeah.
And the parents too, they're fearing that failure. But what they're really doing is they're preventing themselves from the possibility of stepping into where they need to step, stepping, playing when they're needed, right? Stepping into that role that they were given. And everyone just needs to find the role. But if you're too afraid of sitting the bench, you're never gonna be great. You need to be able to follow before you can lead.
And it's
right?
part of
when
that.
You lead, you need to be able to follow.
Yeah. And it's part of that discomfort because, maybe they're playing with kids who are better than them or bigger than them or faster than them or whatever. But like you said, with Aaron Rodgers, like Tom Brady, right? If he wasn't preparing for the time when Drew Bledsoe got hurt,
Yep.
and he stepped out on that field and showed his ass instead of dominating,
Yep.
where would he be?
Yep.
What about Jacoby Brissett when he was on the Patriots? Where I think Jacoby Brissett is a little bit more, I'd say down to earth example, because it's it's closer to us because it's a little bit more not elite, I guess. But Tom Brady gets suspended for 5 games. I think on that Deflategate bullshit. And then Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, he gets hurt. Now, guess what? Jacoby Brissett, the third stringer, is now starting for the New England Patriots.
Yep.
So, and now he's a starting quarterback for the Browns because of the Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield debacle. So, just you could be a little bit worse than everyone else, but if you've put in that effort to at least be a starting job or a starting player or whatever, and just do your best out there with the right team, you can be put in positions to go far. With the right coaches, you can be put in positions to go far. With the right mindset.
It's the mindset and the willingness to go and learn from them. Just because you're sitting the bench or you're second string or third string doesn't mean you can't take shit. Right. And that is the part that, look at Jimmy G. Jimmy G's not spectacular, but he's poised. He hangs in the pocket. He's got probably one of the fastest releases in the NFL as far as his release time. So he's learned, but you know who he takes that from is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is pretty fucking fast with his release time too. So, there's value in sitting the bench. There's value in being behind some of the fucking elite people out there, So I can't get over this mindset of just being afraid of sitting the bench because it's not the most fun out there. But if you're willing to turn value out of it and sit there and actually learn, right? And practice with the top players, right? And it's business too, right? We're in our circle, dude, our circle are leaps and bounds ahead of us. What if we told Will and Eli that, hey, we don't think we're good enough to go to Colorado and meet you guys?
Yeah.
Right? What if we told them hey, we're not even close to you?
Yeah.
Why are we, I don't want to do that in fear of failure, right?
But in reality, because in reality we're not. Like you just said, they're leaps and bounds ahead of us. But the simple fact that we have the mindset to think that we're closer than maybe we actually are.
Yeah.
Right? Then that allows us to get in touch with these people and work with these people and partner with them and do all this cool shit and have all this cool opportunity ahead of us.
Yeah.
And be able to level our game up through the help of guys like that, right?
Yeah.
Sit back and learn from them, Zoom calls, do whatever. These guys will give you the formula if you just pay attention and you listen to it.
Yeah. And I posted a thing on Facebook yesterday. It was that pink beach house that Emily really wants. And I said, I will buy this. Right. And I think people think I'm joking. I think people aren't really taking it seriously based on some of the comments. Oh, I want a room and whatever. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think they're taking it seriously, but I put that into the universe because I know the circle that we have.
Yeah.
And I know that with the work ethic and the opportunities that I'm not fucking afraid to take.
Yeah.
Right. I know that it will come. I don't know the time frame, but I know that it will come because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of taking those opportunities that fucking are scary.
Yeah.
Right? Putting yourself out, on YouTube or a podcast or on, trying to recruit agents or do whatever. That shit's not for the faint of heart because you get turned down so much. People call you crazy so much. It's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
Right. And I think they think I'm joking, but with our circle, and us actually stepping into that opportunity and stepping into that role of just like, hey, let's soak it in, right? Soak up the knowledge, soak up all of the skill sets, and actually execute on it and become who we are destined to become. And because people
Or at
don't
least
understand,
try. At
or
least
at least
try.
but people don't understand their own potential. And when they reach their current potential, because I believe that it's in scales,
Yeah.
and when they reach their current potential, they think they're done. They think that's all they got. And it's like, no, you just need to find a new circle. Once you find a new circle, hence, moving up to JV, right? When you find that new circle, your skill set is going to become that much better.
Yeah.
Your knowledge base is going to be that much better. Those people are going to carry you up to them, right? You obviously have to contribute some kind of value. And if you have no value, then you actually have to execute on the things that they're teaching you.
Right.
But, that's sort of my parallel there is like, we're doing it in business in the real estate world and in a couple outside ventures, but like those kids that are afraid, man, like they just need to see the value in sitting on the bench and being a backup. They need to see the value. And
I don't think that anybody really realizes though, like anyone who has ever done anything great, I don't think that people realize that they were scared at one point too. Like Josh Allen throws up before every single game because he's nervous. Like I don't think people understand
really?
that. Huh?
Does he really?
Yeah, that's what he said in an interview. Throws up before every single game. Yeah, it's just I don't think people understand that. Like, yeah, you might be nervous, but so was everybody else who was in your position at some point, right? And like every time you move up, you say you go from a level 5. So like you set a scale, right? So you have a scale of 1 to 5, and then once you hit 5, now there's the 6 through 10. Once you're a 6, you're back at the bottom. Whereas when you were a 5, you were at the top of that first scale.
Yeah.
Now you're a 6, you're at the bottom of that next tier, but then you get to a 10 and you're at the top.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep going that way. So every time you're at the bottom of that next tier, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel outclassed. You're going to feel like you haven't done shit yet, Andy and Ed talk about like the 10-year room, 20-year room, 30-year room,
Yeah.
People who have been doing this shit for that long. But, when you're at 10 years, you're feeling on top of the world. But then when you're at, say 20 years, or no, when you're at 11 years, you're feeling like a newbie because you're around everyone who's, doing 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So you're at the bottom again. And that's part of the growth. That's part of winning in life is you have to be able to be in those positions where you're going to be at that bottom of that tier. But at least you're still in that tier.
Yep.
Now work to be at the top. It's climbing a ladder. Work to be at the top. Just one foot in front of the other and keep going.
Yep.
But going back to these kids and I guess the concept of winning is just like you said, winning is more fun than fun is fun. That's something that I've heard it from Ed Milet. I've heard it from there's a few other people, but like it's true. Once you start winning at anything, it's addicting. And you and I are pretty competitive, and I think it's because when we were young, we were blessed by being on a lot of sport teams that won a lot.
Very competitive sports teams, yeah.
That won a lot. Like I don't recall really losing a ton.
Except to those Dominican fuckers.
But when we were in like Cooperstown, right? Like Cooperstown really was like one loss that kept us out of it. But it was just I don't know. I don't remember losing very much. So I think that's partly why we're so competitive. But I feel like a lot of kids need to experience that competition, and just winning.
Yeah.
You know, time. Like the other thing is like about these kids is like now they're on a losing team. So now what?
Yep.
You know, they're always going to lose. They're never going to win. So like, yeah, you don't really care about winning, but like you're always going to lose. So at
Right.
some point you're going to care that you're losing every single game.
Yep.
You know, even people who care least about winning, right? They start losing enough, they're going to start caring. they're gonna the more they're gonna want to start to win.
Well, I mean, think about fat people, right? Fat people aren't always upset that they're fat.
Yeah.
Until it becomes too much.
Yeah.
And then they get upset that they're fat.
Yeah.
Right? Or people that have health conditions that were caused by, you never really care about smoking until you get lung cancer.
People don't change until it becomes so bad that they have no choice but to change, right?
Yes.
And it's like everyone says that like, oh, money's not that important. Yeah, until you don't have any money.
Yeah, and then
you
need
what?
it.
And then when you need it, it's important, right? So it's all of that. Anyone can draw a million of these parallels, right? But simple concept is like, if we don't have any winners in life, if say our whole town goes and loses every single thing that they do, right? Then what? Like, what if our country just lost everything? Then what? What if we had never won a world war or 2 world wars?
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah, we wouldn't have a country. Yeah.
So like, you have to win. You have to have winners in life. Winners in life are the ones who are creating those businesses that give opportunities and jobs for employment, and pay people, and anything else. Literally, like
Creating
anything, just opportunity in general. So winning is super important. I don't care who you are. It doesn't have to be all you care about, but it should be a priority for most things, you know, and whether it's your job, whether it's your family, whether it's a sports team, whether it's your kids, whether it's, literally anything.
Yeah.
Your focus should be on winning. So I don't know. What else do you have? Do you have anything else? I know we're crunching time here, so.
No, I keep going back to the parents, man. I think that it's a culture thing that the parents need to start working on. I don't feel like they're doing a good enough job with it, and I think it starts in the home.
It does, and you're right. It starts there because our youth is 100% of our future, and who teaches the youth?
Yeah,
it's either parents or it's teachers. Which teachers become second set of parents, basically.
Yeah,
so
they shouldn't, but yeah.
No, they shouldn't, but they do.
Yep.
Good and bad, but yeah, I mean, it starts with our youth because, again, they're 100% of our future. So if we fail them now, they're going to fail us later.
Yep.
So, you taking selfies?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so I want to try and do at least one episode a week. I think that we can commit to one episode a week.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of other shit going on too, but I think one episode a week is a solid and a fair commitment.
Yeah.
So all of you listeners out there, you can be expecting at least an episode a week, if not maybe 2, or depending on how we feel, but at least 1.
Yep.
So it'll all be the same kind of content as this,
and
our thoughts on
and this
shit.
This is going to be going up on YouTube too. So we're creating that channel. It's all going to be on YouTube with video. We got the video working now. So you can go and check that out on Legion of Impact on YouTube. And we'll be starting at episode 15 for the videos because the first 14 we didn't have video. So
and we'll be working on getting live streams as well. I I don't know if, well, Avery, I told you that in the beginning of this, but we do have the live stream capability. I think we just need to get a little bit better at it before we before we go that far. But yeah, check for the videos on YouTube. We'll post all the links and everything in the description. And where can they follow you, Avery?
Real Avery Hamilton on Instagram and Real Avery Hamilton on Facebook.
All right. So Real Avery Hamilton. I'm Anthony M. Hamilton on Instagram and Anthony M. Hamilton 01 on Facebook. Just go to Instagram. I don't really care about Facebook too much. So
Facebook's where it's at for me. Instagram,
yeah.
I don't love it much anymore. But
so either way, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Peace.